the strategy. And that's something where we can keep adding new units easily. And we also continue to tweak gameplay. Like, we've been updating the game on PC continually, and the plan is to go forward with that on the console. Like, that's, even though I always wanted the game on console, we started with PC just because we had absolute freedom to just update it as much as we want and get it in a good spot. So we're not using the console players like as test subjects. Like, I want to come out of the gate with a really solid game for the console players. That's all part of the plan. It sort of pained me to develop the game so long, you know, where most of the people are playing with mouse and keyboard. And it can play with that, but it's really at home on the controller.
I see. So now we're already seeing some of the more traditional RTS sort of elements of the game. Tell us what this player's doing right now.
So this is a pre-game. They just went through a period where they can build things faster, very quickly. Now these are new players, I have to stress, so they're not, you know, as hyperactive as you see the pro players being. But you get to build some units a little bit quicker than normal to deploy, you know, your initial selection of stuff that's going to be on the field. Because, you know, you want to, say, put some things around your base for defense, or maybe you're building things that are going to go capture the next structure. So you're not building bases so much in this, but you are capturing structures that exist on the map. So they can be held by either neutral units or the other team. So they go back and forth. And then you just got one main resource, which is effectively credits. It's your currency for buying more units and even buying upgrades for your AirMechs. And you get more of that depending on how much of the map you control. So there's like a neutral base, you know, on that you want to take that. You'll get credits for having it. You also get extra territory control, meaning you can be over top of it and you get life back. You regain your energy from those structures. So you don't have to wait and fall back and go back to your home base. Any of those places you control. So you can sort of work your way across the map and capture them one by one, or you can sneak around the back and, you know, try to steal one without your enemy, you know, noticing, and then you launch your attack from there. Because every unit you build, you can also pull out of whatever structure you hold. So getting that forward position, you know, it's a big risk-reward thing. You see a lot of competitive players, they go for that early strike.
So now, you've been talking about trying to go to consoles for a long time now. Was it sort of a natural progression? Was it more of a response to a community-driven request?
I've just always wanted it on console, like personally, because I know that, you know, with the gamepad, it's a really great experience. So we've had people asking for it, of course, but I always knew that its home was going to be on console.
So as far as the mechs that we've seen our players choose, tell us a little bit more about the abilities that these specific mechs are going to be bringing.
So we've got a Neo that one of the players is maining here. Neo is great. He's light armor, but he's very fast, and he's like our trickster stealth class. So he can actually be carrying units and go stealth behind enemy lines, drop things off. He can do like stun lock on other players, either on the ground. He's got a really cool ability that lets him deflect like it basically throws off all the missile guidance for like missiles might be homing in on him, and they'll select new targets. That's great. Like they'll all be about to hit him, and then boom, they'll like retarget. They can retarget the enemy mechs too. It's a really fun ability.
I have a feeling we'll be hearing some OP calls about him.
No, they're actually really quite well balanced. I mean, the Neo is definitely not. It's not a fun mech for new players because he's light in armor. Like he's fragile. So you need to know how to play him. Like, you know, every game has that, like, here's the easy classes to play, and then here's the harder ones to play. So these players here are definitely new players. They're just, you know, trying things out, trying to figure the controls. Like, when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, actually, I wish I could tell them to, you know, do this and do that. They'd have a better time. Because this is very slow paced compared to what you would see the pro players doing.
So who's the best at your guys' office in this game? I imagine it's you, James.
Yeah, I mean, I trade blows with Matt. You know, Matt is also good, but we're terrible compared to the players. I mean, the players always end up dominating you because you play it like you're testing it. So I know everything about the game, but when it comes to like the pressure of like, what do you do when, you know, the enemy's bearing down on you and you've got these number of things in your build queue and you've got to fight and your health is getting low. So like I would know if you stop time and say, oh, you should do exactly this. But the amount of pressure that it is, that's what impresses me so much about our pro players, is that they're basically playing a game of Street Fighter and a game of StarCraft at the same time. Like and that's what blows me away, because I could do one or the other, but to do both is really an amazing skill. So to watch those high-level players play is crazy.
Did you guys have to make a lot of balance tweaks after you started seeing high-level players and think to yourself, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that synergy existed, and maybe that's too crazy, or were you mostly just impressed and sort of let them do what they might?
Oh, there's a ton of balance changes made, but it's not made so much to control what the players are doing. Like, we love to see stuff emerge of like, oh, that's a really cool synergy between those mechs, or using that ability in this order with these units. And, you know, I love games, you know, over the years that don't try to stamp that out. Like, you know, if players discover stuff, like, you know, Quake was a great example. Like, all the little, like, oh, you can, like, bunny hop and get the speed and do this, like, in rocket jumping, like, all these, like, emergent things. You don't want to just patch them out as bugs or do away with them. You want to say, okay, that's cool. How do we at least bring it in line so it's not too overpowered? And that's a continual process that we've been doing with the PC players. And the whole game is set up to do that with the console players. So it's not just a game that's put out. Like, when the first version comes out, that's really just the start of it. So we put the version out on 360 to start, and then we got to work on the next-gen versions, which we really couldn't tell people what we were doing, but I think it's playing now we've been working on, and now we can move, you know, all the versions forward, you know, on the same update schedule that we're using for the PC.
Yeah, so we're starting to see the players transforming and then going to the ground. And I'm interested a little bit in what do you think these mechs' specific strategies should be, since you've been designing the game and you've seen a lot of pro play now. You've mentioned these guys are kind of newbies, which is fine, no offense, we all start there. But how do you think they should be playing?
Well, on the one side, we've got a Paladin and a Warthog. That's a really great combo to really push their whole army forward, because the Warthog has this giant minigun, he does a ton of DPS. Both those mechs are slow, but the Paladin, it's named literally for being a Paladin. We wanted to make it approachable. Oh, okay, that's the tanky class. So he's got this big riot shield, he soaks up damage. If the Warthog like sits right behind him, you know, it's a perfect way to push forward just with the mech. And the Paladin is also great for support mechs because he can carry a ton of things. Like, especially a late game Paladin, he can scoop up like 4 tanks and just like drop them down on the enemy base. He's great for that. But he's a little bit weaker when it comes to his direct attack, which is why he's a great complement with the Warthog.
So has either side taken an edge in this fight yet?
Well, they're taking middle here. So red team's taking middle, which is always a really good, you know, it's a very strategic point. As long as you keep an eye on what your opponent is doing. Visibility is huge in AirMech, like understanding what your opponent is doing and being able to control it. Because unlike like other RTS games or even MOBA games, you can't just jump all over the map simply and like check it out. We control the camera and keep it right on the player and see what they're doing. So if you want to see what the enemy is doing, you need to physically scout yourself. Like, that's what I like about this. You can do anything. Like, you are the most powerful thing as the AirMech, undisputed. You're the most powerful unit. But your time is incredibly valuable. So what do you spend doing? Like, do you want to protect your own little blob of units? You can totally protect it. But now you're sacrificing the ability to be building and deploying somewhere else or backing up your teammate. So it's all about those choices of what you do with your time.
So in the pro scene, how important of a role does scouting play?
Oh, it's huge. You just need to know to scout every once in a while, or if you haven't seen the enemy in a while, just scout, just a quick scout. Neo, again, is super great for that. You can even scout totally visible.
Oh, and he goes down.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened there.
Well, he didn't quite understand how fragile the Neo was. So you definitely don't want to take on those anti-aircraft things. Those missiles will home in on you. They'll wreck your day. It's actually really a good way to escape with the Neo, because you just have to watch your health and know, okay, I've got this much health left. I can transform and get out of here in the right amount of time. But that's a learned skill. It comes with time. There's actually a huge gulf of skill between like the brand new players that just kind of mess around and see what's going on. Like, we threw them right into PvP here, which is, you know, a bit of a startling experience, because when you normally play the game, there's a set of challenges. They're very simple. I mean, we also have like a tutorial to go through, but even that, you know, sometimes players don't like a tutorial. So we went right to these like little micro challenges of like, let's make sure you can blow stuff up. Let's make sure you can carry things. So these are little short challenges, which will give you rewards for completing them, and you can try to maximize your time. But once you've made it through that initial set of challenges, you should understand all the basics, and you actually know more than the players that we're watching right here. So it prepares you, you know, for wherever you want to go next. Because some people, they're just like, give me the PvP. I just want to get straight into PvP. Other people, they want to do co-op first, which is, I highly recommend doing co-op, because you start off against an easy AI, and you've got somebody you're working with. You know, again, on console, you've got voice chat, you can talk with them and coordinate. It's a huge, huge help. It's really you find your own pace of how you want to learn, but I guess after you've played maybe 10 matches, you'll start to realize how little you know, because you play a few, like the first few, you're like, yeah, I got this. You transform, you build, no problem. And then if you end up playing against a really good player, or even with a really good player, your eyes are open to like, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, you get people that they say, oh, cheaters, there's cheaters. Oh my God, they beat us in like 60 seconds. Like, there's no way, they must have been cheating. And then we go look. We actually go see, okay, what was going on? Like, well, it wasn't quite 60 seconds. It was 3 minutes, which is fast, but they built a whole bunch of tanks and sent them, and you ignored them. Like, you just totally ignored what was going on. So, yes, that would cause you to lose. And
so what is the primary win condition in PvP?
destroying the enemy base. That is the only objective. So there's some little side things where if you control the entire map, you will cut off the income from your enemy like drastically. Because some players, you know, it's called turtling in RTS games, where they just play totally defensively. You know, it's valid to a certain extent. Like if you want to turtle up and then do a push forward, that's totally cool. But to just turtle and, you know, try to draw out a game, you know, trying to make your opponent rage quit, I don't think is cool. So we do reward players for controlling the map. You know, of course they get income from everything they own, but then on top of that, they cut off the other side.
So it does seem that, like you said earlier, Red's taking control of the center. They're sort of slowly marching forward. What does the blue team need to do to get back into this?
I would say they need to take one of those, the structures that is closer to the enemy base. Like, forget about the mid. Well, mid isn't even defended, but again, it's hard that the players don't realize that they could come in here with a nice drop of a couple tanks, neutralize that. So you see how they control that structure? If I wanted to take that structure from them, you need to do damage to it. And there's 4 little soldier guys in it. And as it takes damage, those soldier guys will actually be destroyed. And then when they're all gone, it becomes neutral. And then your own soldiers can go inside. Now, if somebody's attacking my fortress and I want to reinforce it, like maybe 2 of my 4 guys are gone, I can, you know, bring more in and they'll reinforce it. So you can either protect your structures or just let them, you know, go to the enemy. You will see some units are automatically being spawned. So that's another thing borrowed from like MOBA games. You're like, well, let's help the players out a little bit, and you know, some of these infantry guys will go out and they'll automatically capture. It's great for new players, and experienced players can even pick them up and put them wherever they want. So it's not just waiting for them to go down the lane that you want. Like you hear lanes like often in MOBA style games, but because we can go in the air, lanes don't apply. Like you don't have the concept of needing, you know, this dedicated lane. You can just literally fly anywhere you want. So that's why it's not like there's the one map that you will play for the rest of your life in this MOBA. It's like, no, we've got a whole bunch of maps, and a ton more maps will be coming.
So how many maps are there currently in the pool?
Well, I guess for the PvP dedicated ones, there's 8 maps, and then there's another 3 maps that are survival based, which is a different way of playing. It's kind of like a tower defense. So it's a great way to practice as well, where you just got one base in the middle that's yours, and then it just spawns wave after wave of enemies coming in. A lot of people play, you can play it up to 4 players, so sort of each player can take like, you know, a compass direction. It's a ton of fun. I like playing survival a lot. We've also got the challenge maps. There's 25 challenges, and we're going to be adding more of those too. We always get the questions from the players, you know, from the 360 and the PC version, like, will you add more X? And the answer is always yes. Like whatever it is, we're setting the whole game up so that, you know, when it's released, that's the point when we keep adding content. Like this is a lot of like building the framework, building the structure of the game. But you know, like any MOBA game, you want to keep supporting it with new content, and that's what the whole game is designed to do.
And so tell us also a little bit about what it was like trying to come up with the different skins for some of these, because I did notice earlier that there were. Who was in charge of that, and how did that process go?
Well, really everybody. I mean, when we started it, I think the first skin that we did just as a test was like, well, what don't we do like, you know, a black one, and it's got like some team color stuff on it just because black stuff is cool. So that was like literally our first test skin. And it's like, oh, that's neat. And then from there, the players saw it and they're like, oh, that's cool, but can you do this? And can you do that? So tons of stuff came from community requested things, really. Because, I mean, we have no, like, design pride, I guess. Like, I love, like, interacting with the community and listening to what they want and saying, okay, tell us what you want, and then we'll see what we can do. Because you don't always, like, you can't literally give them exactly what they want, but you want their input and give them as close as you can to, like, you know, something they would think is cool. So whether it's design features or the skins. Like, the Neo there has got a really cool one. It's the shark Neo. It's a very, like, long sort of neck. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like, we could kind of make a shark-like thing out of that. And then we made his tail wag just for fun when we were, like, putting the finishing touches on it. Like, oh, is this too silly? I don't know. But then the players love it. They love, like, that little extra, like, splash of it. And so we found that the Shark Neo was, like, a really, really popular one. They like those touches. And that comes from the PC side of things. Now, it's interesting to see the flavor of it for the console players. They sort of ask for slightly different things, which, you know, that is all, you know, taken into account going forward. It's like, we have no really firm rules about what is canon and what is not, because it fits into our story. Like the quote-unquote story of the game is that it's a, you know, it's a futuristic kind of after a great war happens. There's not many people left, but there are these giant war machines that are left. Like these AirMechs are like salvaged and taken by people, and they live like pirates. You know, think a little bit like Mad Maxy if you crossed it with Robotech or something. So they've got these big war machines.
Sounds awesome.
And people just want to look unique. Like the actual people in the world, in our story, think I want to be this pirate warthog because I want to put fear into my opponent. So it's like cool, you know, that works. And just like players want to look unique, the people in the game look. So it's a nice fit. Like we have everything from the super serious, like the Black Ops line is super popular, like military themed ones. Some are more like stylized, like, oh, this came out of like some competitive scene where they actually use these robots to fight. We even have like an Easter Bunny themed one, which is surprisingly popular. I mean, if you give like a certain amount of craft and attention to things, like take them seriously and provide a little backstory, the players really like it. And if somebody wants to use that, sometimes they like to troll their opponents with it. Like, I'm gonna totally like go Easter Bunny crazy with him. It's like, okay, whatever. And then other people are very serious. They just want to play the game, but that's fine. It doesn't detract from it.
Now it looks like the blue side has taken the middle back, and red is kind of starting to lose a little bit of ground. What do you think the state of the game is here? Who's winning?
It's hard to say who's winning. I think either one of them, you know, could do a big push and, you know, do really well. It's just they're just getting their legs. They're figuring out what they can do. Like I can see the Warthog like flying some units like slowly across. He's actually pretty terrible at transporting units. So because he's got the gun to compensate.
So you mean the character,
warrior.
Not the player, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The Warthog being a lot of the mechs are actually based off of the ships that inspired them, just to not be too confusing. So like the Warthog is based off an A-10 Warthog, and it's great, you know, for shooting. We see a lot of people want that as their hero mech, but he's not that great at microing the units and moving them around. So to see a player, you know, using it the wrong way, because you can give any of them orders. You say, I want you to just go and, you know, go capture this thing, go attack the enemy. They can do that, but it requires a little bit more knowledge of the game for them to get used to it. Like here, they're still, you know, directly, you know, having fun, experimenting. Like he should be moving in on it. He's got some Blade Guardians there. If he gets close to him, he would actually do damage. Like with the Neo, I would dance around a unit because the tank turret can't actually track the Neo fast enough. So if you dance around that Neo at close range, those Blade Guardians would hit him, you know, plus the tank would never hit him. So there's ways to handle every situation. It's very like, oh, here's a group of units. How should I deal with it? Should I build some units? Should I take them on myself? Should I tell my teammate, you know, you go handle this?
And do you have a favorite mech that you like to play?
I used to be really partial to the Osprey, but I've been playing more and more Striker lately for testing purposes, and he's a lot of fun too. Like we consider Striker like our Ryu of the game. We start you with that because he's an all-rounder. He's pretty good at everything. So he's super flexible, so you can just take on whatever role you want. but I do also like to use the Osprey because the Osprey is like one of our support mechs that can heal units. So you can heal other mechs, or you can heal other units. Like I also like to play like medic type classes in other games. I mean that's a lot of what's in the DNA of this. It's like things that like roles that I've liked to play on other games. Because I feel it's really fun to be able to fall into a role and support your team.
Yeah, I've always loved playing healers as well. It's typically the class I wind up rolling with because like you guys were saying earlier, the kind of big dumb fighters like to get in there and you let them think they won the fight, right? But as the healer, you're kind of like, yeah, I made it possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm old now. I can't, compete with the reflexes of like, the young players. It just blows me away. But it was even years and years ago that I got to that point because it was always the youngest person around was like, they were just the best at like one-on-one combat. The first thing I worked on actually was Unreal Tournament. That was my first job in the industry working at Epic, and it was funny because usually the youngest person in the office was the best, but also the feeling of like there was only one winner. Like we'd all play and like you have lost the match. Like you hear this like over and over again. There's one winner and everybody else loses. And it was like that was about the time when I was like I really like team games. I really like playing on team games because it's two great things about it. I've got a 50% chance of winning, and if I lose, I can blame my team. So it suddenly made me feel good. And like I didn't care about dying anymore because like I was just about helping my team. Like it's like, well, so you killed me. I didn't care. I distracted you while they went and took the flag. Like that's the type of feeling I like in games.
Mark, do you have a favorite character?
So the Warthog is pretty awesome for jumping in with his machine gun, chain gun, and just mowing down people. Sometimes though, I mean, and that's just for fun. I mean, there's sometimes I jump in the game just to mess around, not take it too seriously. But when I'm getting a little more competitive, I want to try and actually, score some points and move up on the leaderboards. I'll go for the saucer. There's a UFO flying saucer AirMech, and he has this great ability to actually convert enemy units over to your team. So you just kind of hover over them, and you kind of sneak around to edges of the map and start slowly taking over their forces, and before they know it, all of a sudden their army is turned on them, and you're charging into their fortress. It's a great way to sneak up on them.
Oh, Saucer is another great like trickster mech, like kind of in line with the Neo in that he's lighter in his health, but you forgot to mention his death ray.
There's the death ray. So if you get in those situations where you are getting attacked, he's got this death ray that just like beam of death, basically. It just takes people out.
The longer you have it up, the more damage it does. And so you just get a nice full energy tank and you start burning it down. And if you time it just right, you get a level up, you get some extra energy, and it just keeps burning. It gets bigger. We actually make it bigger based on how much damage it's doing as like a clue. And it's just so much fun to play that. It requires skill, like to know when do I retreat, when do I engage. He also has a blink ability where he can like sort of do these short little teleports. So it's really hard to kill like a saucer that knows what he's doing because he will just like I've almost got him. He just like dips away. It's like it's a lot of fun.
So he does have plenty of survivability, just not in terms of raw hit points and armor like some of the others.
For sure, yeah, and that's nice. Like that's why we gate it at a higher level. Like so, we have a structure set up where basically at every level you'll unlock a new AirMech, and it's put in the order of difficulty to play, that we consider. So, because you're gonna have a bad time if you just jump in, especially like PvP without knowing how to play something. So we encourage people, test out your strategies in co-op, get good with it, understand the strengths and weaknesses of the mech.
There's also the challenge mode, the tutorials. There's a lot of other little elements in the game when you start off to be able to guide you, get your bearings and kind of figure stuff out, at least to learn the basics. With so many different AirMechs and different styles of play available to you, there's lots of opportunity in co-op mode or in the solo gameplay areas to test them out, figure out what works for you, which style of play is best, and then kind of start pursuing and learning the skills to flesh that out.
Yeah, because we always get the question, what's the best AirMech? Like all the time, they constantly ask what the best AirMech is. And a lot of, we'll start with like, well, it depends, what are you trying to do? What do you like to play? What are this? And if I'm not feeling like I can get into it with people, I just say Warthog.
Yeah.
What's the best one? Probably Warthog. Because if you're asking that question, you're probably a new player and you'll have fun with the Warthog. But, the best mech is the one that works for you. Like, and it's a very personal thing. Like, you could probably ask somebody 10 questions of like, what do you play in other games, like what do you like, and then you can say, oh, this is the one that you would play. But then you also need to learn how to play it, because you know, any game, like once it clicks and you understand everything about that class and you can master it, it's more fun. Like it just becomes like, it's sort of zen-like, like, oh, I know exactly what to do at this moment. But I think people also, it's very easy to get into because it's a dual stick shooter. So like at its core, you know, you might have a rough time if you're going to do PvP at start, but if you're just messing around against the AI, like we make the early AI very easy, you know, we actually reduce like even the amount of damage you take to destroy his units. Like we just want to make sure you are not pressured too much when you're first playing, because all of them can pick up units, all the mechs can pick up units, all of them can shoot. Well, with the exception of one of the melee ones. He's actually fun to play too. They all do damage. They all can wreck somebody's time, you know, and that's fun. Like it's fun to just blow stuff up at its core.
So I want to hear a little bit more about a flying melee. Tell us a little bit about that mech that you just teased me with.
Oh, well, they're not meleeing while they fly. Like the bomber, we actually took a weird approach to the bomber. He was one of the very early additional AirMechs. Like, of course, we started with the Striker, who's like our most classic one. And then we added the bomber. We're like, well, let's make something different right out of the gate, make him feel, you know, his own thing. So he actually doesn't shoot on the ground. He has a melee attack. He's got these, like, you know, I don't know if you know, like, the B-2 bomber, like, general design, like, this is a big triangle thing. So we actually unfold those wings into these big arms and, like, these big hooks on them. So he just goes in there and, like, you know, tears things up, like, literally, like, slash, tear. He even has a whirlwind ability as he gets later on. So, like, okay, so he can't shoot on the ground. What can we do different in the air? So in the air, we actually let him have a air to ground mode, where most of them don't have that. So he, you know, like a bomber, he can deploy bombs. So he plays differently than the other mechs. And you have to understand, oh, there's a bomber. I need to watch out. I can't just leave, you know, my units unprotected, because he can sit in the air and bomb them. Or I need to make sure I've got some anti-air units along with it, and not just tanks, which won't be able to defend. It's very much like a rapid-fire rock, paper, scissors thing. Understanding what your enemy has, you know, what they're doing with it, and then how you can counter it. Because people always ask about what the best strategy is. Like, oh, this strategy is OP, or this is the best strategy. It's like, no, the best strategy is being able to react. Like, my opponent is doing this, there's definitely a best thing you can be doing in that case. Like, oh, my opponent is rushing, what do I do? Well, you know, he spent all his money in that rush. You should lay down stuff to engage that rush. That's why scouting is super important. If you cut off his rush, you're getting XP. You know, you're effectively feeding your opponent. I like it when people rush. It's like, oh, yay, I'm gonna be like two levels higher than you, you know, at the end of this, because you rushed, but you didn't do a very well protected rush. So it's understanding that and reacting to it.
So the cheese can actually punish you.
Oh, very, very much so.
It's a risk. I mean, it's a strategic risk, whether you want to put yourself out there or if you're going to play more defensively and hold back a bit. So you kind of have to gauge, you know, depending on what your opponent is, how they're playing, your style of play, the AirMechs you choose, the units that you use in your loadout going in. All of these factors come into play in how you're going to engage or defend.
Sometimes you can even tell just by what mech and like pilot they're using or their units, like, you know what they're going to attempt. So it's amazing, like, what to watch, especially the higher level players, like their opening strategies, because you want to balance it between, you don't want to be too defensive, you want to be flexible. So you know, are the other team going to rush? Are they going to sneak attack? What are they going to do? Like, it's see, actually here you're starting to see more stuff happening to the players. They've understood, oh, I can build a lot of units and I can send them. They're figuring it out. So this is like the very early beginnings of, you know, what you'll see PvP players, you know, really get into.
So what's going on in this game? Has this reached a stalemate point, and how often does that happen in really high-level games?
No, you really shouldn't reach a stalemate point because, well, in high-level games you definitely don't, because the mechs themselves become so powerful. Like here, really, if the players just made a concentrated effort to push, they would find that they would tear through a lot of the units like tissue paper. Like, that's sort of our end game thing, is if you don't resolve this, you know, properly, you know, the mechs just sort of become so dominant. And then your respawn times, get longer as you get higher level. So, if somebody goes down, it creates a huge opening. You also get more and more money, so more and more units are coming out. Like the automatic spawn creeps, they get more powerful. So we don't want to force a resolution. We've actually tried that in the past, but we found, players are in a really tightly locked game. They want it to finish. But most of the games are actually like more like 10-minute games. Like once people understand.
All right, well, as this game comes a little bit closer to its conclusion, we are going to take a quick break, but we will be back very soon, so don't go anywhere.
Sure, great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ESL Arena. Once again, I am Cameron Camdoza-Reed, and a very exciting announcement was made today that AirMech Arena, a new title from Ubisoft, will be coming to next-gen consoles. I'm joined here by a couple of the developers from Ubisoft. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves one more time?
My name is James Green. I'm the lead developer on the project. We've been working on it for a number of years now, and then partnered up with Ubisoft and met Mark.
Yep, I'm Mark Aviles. I'm a producer from Ubisoft, working with James and the Carbon team to bring AirMech Arena to the PS4 and Xbox One.
All right, well, a quick recap for those of you who are tuning in that we're having maybe a minor glitch or an error with Twitch. We are definitely just made the announcement, and we've also shown off some of the 2v2 PvP action in this game. Now what we're going to be jumping into is a four-player cooperative survival mode. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, survival mode it pits you against just an endless stream of enemies coming in. So instead of playing against other humans, you're playing against just our pre-programmed waves that we send in. So it's very tower defense-like. A lot of people like that. It's like, oh, I like tower defense games. Yeah, you should totally try this. But it's a great way to practice your mechanics of the game too, because instead of worrying about the high pressure of another opponent, it's like, well, I just got to get through this wave, and let's go put down some more units, get through the next wave, and it's a very, very fun, like sort of almost puzzle-like experience. But you get to practice the mechanics because you're still fighting, you're still transforming, you're still going down on the ground, battling against these units, playing it however you want. Same as the rest of the game.
So our 4 players that we had for the last match, the PvP match, are still up here on stage, and we're go ahead and jumping into game. So explain to us a little bit about this map and the layout of it.
So this is just a sort of a classic spiral like layout of the map. It's the enemies will come in along these 2 main paths, and the players will have to defend against it. So because there's 4 players, 2 can take each path. They can build units to defend against it. They can fight on the ground themselves. So they've actually got a nice mix of AirMechs for dealing with this. The Warthogs are really great to support their units. They got a lot of DPS. One guy's got a Paladin, which has like auras, which can buff his units. It's a nice way to just be able to prepare for these later waves, because you're starting by putting down just a few units to fight off the first quick thing, but then you get massive waves of huge tanks and stuff coming in, pushing in at the later waves. So you need to make sure you spend time building up and placing your units for when that happens. Like a lot of people, they get through like wave 3 or 4, they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. It's like, well, I can see that you're not really prepared for what's coming later on, but that's part of the training practice, because all these skills, you can apply to the PvP part of the combat.
So tell us a little bit more about some of the other mechs, because I can already tell that they've chosen different ones than we saw in the PvP contest.
Yeah, so I can see that somebody's taken an Osprey here, whereas they didn't take an Osprey before. Excellent choice for playing survival, because you can hover above your units and heal them up, or heal them on the ground, or even heal other mechs. So that's a very unique ability that only the Osprey has, currently out of the mech selection. So he makes a great support class. He can also carry a ton of stuff. He's like a really good heavy lifter class. So putting those units in place, playing it a little bit more like an RTS or like a support class is what you'll see the Osprey player doing. Now, what we're looking at right now, that's somebody with a Warthog. He's actually got the Gothic Warthog skin. Again, we've got skins in the game. You can outfit yourself to look however you want. It's a great way to express your own personality, because we've got 2 different Warthogs here, but they've got different skins, so they end up looking different.
And so, how do you unlock the skins?
The skins, there's various ways to get them. You can outright, purchase some of them. Other ones are limited time unlocks, during certain seasonal events. Other ones can be gained randomly or through rewards for quests. There's ways to get the easy ones, and then harder ways. Because you say oh, he's got that one. He must have been around during such and such event, or he was a special player. We like to have that distinction.
So the game is free to play, coming out on the consoles, but we wanted to make sure that we're not making it in any way pay to win. It's definitely focused on allowing players to get in there, experience everything that you'll need to be able to go and compete against all the other players. So the skins are more the customization aspect. That's an area where you can spend a diamond premium currency on those. But and there's lots of other cool cosmetic stuff in the game. There's pets, there's tracers, and streamers. There's stuff, all kinds of fun and interesting ways to kind of customize your own look and style, while still, you know, playing the game your way and getting access to all the units and mechs that you'll need to be competitive against other players.
So tell us a little bit more about the competitive scene that has developed in this game.
Well, we see an extremely competitive scene on the so far the PC side of it and the 360. Like there's that certain percent of players that look at it and they're like, oh, I totally want to play this, you know, versus other people. And they sort of get into it at first, like, okay, I sort of understand what's going on. And then maybe like 10 levels later, like I have no idea what's going on. Because they realize that the depth of the strategy and options that you have. Because once you master the basics of like, okay, I can transform, I can build stuff, this mech is good at that mech is good at that, okay, you understand it. But then where it gets really, really competitive in the high level play is that you're basically playing a full-on like RTS and a full-on action game at the same time, and it's really impressive to watch those players. Like they're way better than I am. Like I understand everything about the game, but that doesn't mean that I can compete with those top players because their reflexes are so good. They're thinking so fast. I mean, I just watch them in awe. It's amazing to watch them play. Like here, we're watching some new players play, which is you know, survival is great for that because you know there's not quite as much pressure. They've got plenty of players in this map to make it, you know, so they're not freaking out. Like everybody's playing their role. You'll see that you're able to pick up other people's units. Like at first that was like a semi-radical thing. Of like, well, I built this unit, I feel like I want control over it. But when you play a game like this and everybody can pick up everything else, you would think it would devolve into chaos, but it really doesn't. Like it's much more like helping your team win. Like it just sort of, I guess you just reflexively want to do that. Like the number of people that want to ruin a game or something is incredibly low. It's not even an issue we have to deal with because people, they play with people, they like them, they're like, oh, I played this guy who's cool, I can add him as a friend, and you play with them from there on out. And it's a very cooperative experience even when you're playing PvP. Now that's for like the 2v2 and 3v3 mode. 1v1 is a whole different story. It's amazing how different the 1v1 play is because you don't have another teammate to fall back on. Like, so if your mech goes down and you have to rebuild and wait for it to come back, instead of saying, oh, he can cover that while this is going on, it's like, no, this is a giant opening, and the other player can really push that advantage because your mech is by far the most powerful thing and flexible thing on the battlefield. You can do anything, but you can only be in one place at a time. And if you're suddenly removed from the map, it's a huge advantage. So then you're scrambling like, oh, he's down. Okay, I'm going to do a push and take this outpost, which I know he won't be able to defend with the units that are there. And that's where it gets really, really cutthroat with the 1v1 PvP. I like watching that, but I also like watching the team combat. It's amazing that there are these different modes, like very different, and they're all fun to watch. Whereas like if I'm watching a traditional mode, it's like, you really want to watch the 5v5. Like that's sort of the meat of it. Like it's not, you wouldn't play them 1v1, it wouldn't work. But because of all the units and the smaller maps and the faster paced gameplay, it really works even in 1v1 on this type of game. Like, I also don't really know how you see like a traditional Dota style game. You know, there's a lot of Dota style games out there on the PC. Seeing how they can all come to console, I'd be interested to see, but I just don't think it's going to work as well. Like, this game was designed from the beginning to be fast-paced and play well with the dual stick gamepad. Like we were on the PC for convenience, but its home is always within the console. Like I wanted it to be a console because it just feels like it's a fit because it's fast-paced and it's action. Like I think if you put like this in the hands of a console player and then say like any of the Dota games which has been put on console, you're gonna have a lot better time with this. If the games are shorter, it's fast-paced, it just feels more like a console game to me.
Some interesting strategies going on here. I think they've chosen to kind of try and block off the entry points on either end, and it's been working so far pretty well for them, but I think they got hit a bit when the enemy flying units came in. I don't think they had any anti-air going. The Paladins do a good job though, buffing the units around it, so it's interesting. I think they've made good progress here. They're on wave 6.
This is only the second game. Like we threw them in a PvP against each other first, and they were, you could watch them sort of feel their way through it. Yep. And now they've picked it up. Like they're at the point where they're like, okay, I got this. And next game is where they're going to get incredibly cocky and be like, wow, I am the best at this, I know. And and then we'll see where they go from there. But it's really fun that it's pretty easy to get into it and have fun, but then also have like a huge amount of depth there later when you really want to discover the game and play at the competitive level.
Yeah.
So it looks like they just finished through Wave 6. I see 72 out of 72. Now, every TD I've ever played has that wave. That one wave where everybody in the game is like, okay, guys, it's coming in 3 levels. Oh, it's coming in 2 levels. Okay, next level, we got to prepare. What wave is that in your game?
That's Wave 9. That's definitely Wave 9. It's like people think, oh, we got through Wave 8, it's fine. It's like, well, no. Wave 8 is actually sort of set up to not be crazy hard so that you've got some nice defenses left. Because if you don't have those, it's just hopeless. You'll see some crazy stuff, you know, come on the screen. So it's a lot of just building up to that point. We'll watch streams of players play, and they'll talk through it, and they're like, oh yeah, we got this. We're almost there. And you look at it like, no, they're not prepared. they do not know what is coming. And it's fun because it's a challenge. Like you want that.
What's the highest wave you've ever gotten to?
Well, there's an endless. There's actually an endless mode. So this particular map, you will beat. You will actually be able to beat it. But we do have like we call it last stand, where they just keep coming and keep coming. And I mean, I've gotten, you know, past wave 30, but we've had players like play up to wave 100. Like they're hardcore. Like it's not made like that. So every time we hear players, they get really, really far, we look at things again like, well, maybe we should make, you know, some wave a little bit harder because it gets exhausting at some point. I get exhausted playing for that long. You want something to be a challenge, but also have an end in sight, I think. But that's why the game is continually evolving. Like it's you know, these are things that are, you know, being balanced and going forward. You know, being on the Xbox One and PS4, you know, this is a decade later as far as like the console design, and it's much easier to update things than it was in the past.
Any updates looming in the near future?
For the 360 version, you know, for sure. You know, we've always maintained like compatibility with everything. So we've been sort of stalling people saying, oh yeah, we're working on an update, it's coming. It's because we've actually had to split our time with doing this. But the intention is to catch everything up.
Yeah, we've had you guys working pretty hard on the Xbox One and PS4 versions, but now that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, those versions are coming out this spring, and beyond that, we definitely have plans to, you know, support the game, build the community, get people really excited about new stuff coming out, and they'll have to go to our website or just keep playing the game, look for updates to see what we're going to come out with and how we're going to grow from launch.
All right, so these guys just finished Wave 7, which means they're about to get to Wave 8, which is that preparation round for Wave 9. Tell us a little bit about what you like, what you don't like about their setup for when Wave 9 comes.
I don't see a setup really, because normally like where these guys are, there should be like a mass of units, and then they should have some artillery on those banks on the side, you know, hitting things. So I don't even see healing units. Like I don't know, maybe they don't understand that they can put repair and healing units in the map, because of course the Osprey, he can heal people, but you can't do all that yourself. You know, you can actually put layers of like, I know this stuff's going to take a lot of damage, then we'll put some things that have the DPS behind it, then we'll put a wave of like healing guys behind it, and then you hit them with artillery from the side. That's normally what you do. I'm very afraid for these players right now.
All right, so they're probably going to get wrecked on Wave 9.
Yeah, you can see right.
They might get wrecked on Wave 8.
Yeah,
it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's but it's fun. They're realizing it. They don't know what's coming, so I don't blame them. I mean, they made it to Wave 8. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, something else I wanted to say about the way we've designed this game to be updated. It's, you know, a lot of times you'll take a game and you'll do a port of it for consoles, and it will basically be like a port. Like it will be, let's take this game and make it work on console. That has never been something we've been fans of as developers, and so from the start, the game was architected to work at one code base. You know, hope that's not getting like too technical, but the good part about that is that we can build all the versions, so we don't have to like go back and port everything to the next gen consoles. Literally, you know, we're working on, you know, the main development version. It builds to all these different platforms. And so then it's just a matter of going through the update process and getting it out there, because we know these types of games, you know, they thrive on being updated, being expanded. So we didn't want to have something that just goes out there and sits. Like maybe that's another reason why MOBAs haven't really shown up on console to date. But we're sort of heading off that problem, you know, just by the way that we designed the game from the start.
Going back to the content, I think one of the great things about AirMech is that it has tons of really cool, fun, seasonal content that comes out for a limited amount of time. So that's stuff that, you know, I always kind of look forward to when it is becoming available. To kind of get these like exclusive pilots or different customization options. So that stuff is just fun to play around with and to look forward to.
And there we have it. Did not make it to Wave 9, which would have definitely, I think, been the wave of death.
Most likely.
But they did well. They did really well, considering, you know, this was like their second game.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they look like they're having a lot of fun, too. So we've seen now PvP. We've also seen survival. What else can players do in this game?
Well, they can play solo just to practice their skills. So you can sort of simulate a game with any number of players, you know, just to practice, try out new strategies. You can also play cooperatively. We find cooperative mode is really, really popular. Like, it's a good easing in to, like, say you're afraid of PvP. I know a lot of players are it's intimidating, and I don't blame you. Like, so after you've played some solo games, you know, starting with doing some co-op, you know, you just jump into matchmaking. So I want to find a partner. It'll like say, oh, here's some people to play with. Maybe you'll meet some great friends. You know, you've got voice chat support on console. It's something we actually don't have on PC that I wish we did have. Like, a lot of these things are just really great fits, you know, on console, because, you know, being able to talk to your opponent, like, your teammates, and say, like, hey, why don't you go do this? Or I've got a problem over here, come to me quickly, you know, is just invaluable. Like, because having that communication there is so important, you know, to being able to play the game. And also just fun. Like, it's much more fun when you feel there's another person working with you.
Now, speaking of competitive, once you've worked through these modes, you feel good and ready and bold, we do have a video that'll actually give you guys a little sneak peek of what the competitive gameplay is like. Let's go ahead and take a look.
By the name Golden Boy. I'm a professional esports commentator.
I've been in competitive gaming since 2011.
You know, I was the first full-time professional gamer.
There's a lot of reasons that I think people compete in competitive gaming. I mean, obviously, it's a chance to be the best at something.
There's something better than good competition, just friendly, all-out battles, and talking smack here and there, and it's always a good time.
The feeling that I can just dominate someone, and a lot of people can see it.
If I kill you, I want to kill you like 5 or 10 more times in a minute.
I just love beating people, you know, I just love winning. I enjoy the small form 2v2, 3v3. I think you can create a good relationship and dynamic with your teammates.
I take over everything. Kamikaze, run in, drop off, and get out.
I've had a lot of different play styles through my career, but it's always about learning how to balance them and use them at the right moment.
There are some games I would play where I would be like a main slayer, but that's very rare. I like to support, I like to help.
I'm a run and gun. I will always be the first to jump out and usually the first to die because of that.
Right now, I'm playing AirMech, and I'm learning how to get better at it.
It was a lot of fun, a lot of shooting, transform at any time, fast movement.
It sort of does walk the line between a single-player RTS and a group MOBA. There's a tactical sense and there's a strategic sense, so there's a lot of things to think about.
AirMech is such a fast game.
The action, the way the game plays is perfect. It feels at home.
And I'm super excited to compete against other people on it and to kick some Can I say
All right, well, that was pretty exciting. So what were we seeing in that trailer?
Well, we were just talking to different people, like, about their experiences with the game and what they liked about it. But you're also seeing some great clips of, really high-level action play, different camera angles and stuff. We forgot to mention that there's a full spectator mode built into the game. Like, you can like you want to see how the pros are doing, you can actually go browse and say, oh, what are the really good games that are on right now, and see what tricks they're doing, because you can learn an amazing amount just by watching other people play. Like I do that, you know, like all the time, just to check up on what the players are doing. Like I didn't even know they could do that. Like it's a great way to like learn and just experience the game.
Now, obviously, a lot of games have spectator modes. Most players are pretty familiar with spectator mode. Is there anything that stands out about yours that's maybe unique in some way, or what you're able to see or communicate to the people actually playing?
Well, we do some things like we actually give you rewards for spectating on top of it, because you know we don't want people to be totally focused on, you know, the only way I can earn stuff to unlock is through that. So we like to say, like, what do the players want to do? Like, it's totally valid that they're watching games. They're getting better at the game by watching it. So we figured, well, why don't we also give them some rewards for doing that? We don't see any downside to it. Like we're very much reactive to, you know, what the players are asking for, and we consider things like, oh yeah, actually that's a good idea, because they ask us for that. Like a lot of the features that go for the spectator mode, and actually the whole game, to be honest, they come from the players. Like, so far, you know, a lot of that has been, you know, the original development was on PC, but after launching on 360, we get the 360 asking for players. And they have their own point of view, because they play with the controller and play like a little bit differently, which also is my favorite way to play. So when they say that stuff to us, we're like, yeah, let's see how we can incorporate what they want to do. And it's very like back and forth with the community themselves, because I mean, I'm technically the lead designer on the project. Like, it's my baby, and I've wanted to make it forever, and I love how it's coming out, but I'm not a designer by trade. I'm actually an animator by trade, and just eventually figured out how to do enough game stuff that now, you know, I lead on this, but I don't have like the design hubris of like, oh, it must be my design. I mean, I fully admit that the game is, you know, it was inspired by the Herzog's Y game, and then parts borrowed from all these other games that I loved. Like, it's more assembling these parts together. That was the starting point. But then from there, like, if players come up with stuff, I'm like, yeah, actually that'd be really good. And new mech designs and abilities is actually a huge part of that. You know, we love to do it. I see it as a challenge of like how I can give them what they want, and it's fun for me as a developer to do that. You know, more than like, this is my design I am handing down and I expect to just work. It's like, no, we try stuff, and you know, it works or it doesn't, and then we adjust it and evolve it. Like, the game is continually evolving. I think we're at like update, you know, 203 on the PC side, and I hope like, you know, the next 200 updates are on console.
Well, I think there's a lot of gamers watching right now, me included, that are really happy to hear that the developers, you guys listen to the community, you love the community, and you want to give them the things they ask for. Within reason, of course, you know, maybe temper your expectations. You can't just ask for God mode mech. Just be given that.
We have a God mode mech, actually.
Oh, do you? So where can players go to join this community and become a part of this thing?
Well, AirMechArena.com is probably the best place to start. I mean, you can just search for it as well. You'll be able to search, you know, in your console, like on the dash.
Right. They'll find it on the within the marketplace on PS4 or on the dashboard on Xbox One. Online, the community can get involved. We have a Twitter for AirMech Arena. We have Facebook, I believe, as well as a website, AirMechArena.com. So I think at some point we can throw that stuff up on the screen for players to kind of get that information down at home.
Yeah, Google is your friend.
Google,
for that.
yes.
If you search for it, you should be able to find it. So we do have, like, if you want specifically the console versions of the game, like, that's AirMech Arena. Like, so that's that little distinction, so you know that this is the console side of it. So there's a lot of overlap there, and we welcome it. You know, we love to send players. Like, we know tons of PC players that were just waiting for the console versions. So we're like, yes, you know, now you can go and you can take all your skills with you and don't stomp them too badly. But no, it's fun watching the communities interact. I mean, so far they've interacted quite nicely the way that we want, because they're both serviced well. Like, we're not like, you know, splitting, you know, to one or the other. You know, they're both getting that attention, you know, going forward. So both communities like suggest things, and it's interesting seeing the console players like have their own kind of aspect for things, and they ask for like some console-ish like exclusives and things that they would want. We're like, well, we'll see what strings we can pull. Like, we'd love to do everything. The only, it's just limited by, relationships and stuff. So.
I mean, you mentioned before how your team is like constantly working on stuff. I think that's a great part of working with you guys, between, from the Ubisoft side, is being able to work with a smaller dev team on this project that's like your labor of love. So you guys are putting it all into the game, but at the same time are able to quickly move through stuff and get new content out there, and work with us to do events like this and really reach out to the community and interact with them more than maybe some of the bigger projects on the Ubisoft side. That's kind of like becomes like kind of too big to be able to get that sort of relationship. But
well, that's why it's a perfect balance. Like having the smaller dev and then with Ubisoft, and we have people ask for like crazy exclusives all the time, but it's just out of our control. Like as a small dev, but then. With Ubisoft, like, oh, all of a sudden we can do like Assassin's Creed content now, which is really cool. But you can only do that with permission from somebody, or Ubisoft pulling strings and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely opened a lot of doors for us.
So the last thing we wanted to talk about was this player marketplace. Can you describe that in a little more detail?
Oh yes, AirMech, as the players call it. Like it's its own game within itself, because as you unlock these skins and stuff, a lot of games, they keep everything like locked per account. Like you can't really move things around. But looking at what Valve has done and the success they've had with a completely free and open economy, we think that's great. So we let the players, buy and sell things among each other. I know a lot of devs are like scared of that. We were even a bit scared at first before we did it. We're like, well, then they won't buy anything from us. Like it won't matter. But it encourages them actually to collect more, and there's more interaction between the different members of the community, because they want to get these things, especially with the time-limited things. It's a perfect way to open that up. So you've got these seasonal things. Like there's a whole set of like Halloween content, which is really popular, but it's only available a certain amount of time. So people might want to cycle out, like, well, I've got this like really sweet-looking like pumpkin jack-o'-lantern saucer thing that they want to sell in the springtime for some extra credits, so they can buy some stuff that's then available in the spring. Like it just keeps things flowing, and then it solves the supply and demand issue, so we don't have to just sell it directly.
I'm a big fan of the Frankenstein pilot that you can get the Halloween period.
Frank's a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. That is about all the time we have to talk about this, but very exciting stuff. Where can the players find this game to play themselves online?
Xbox One and PS4 coming this spring.
Coming this spring. All right.
Well,
and AirMechArena.com.
AirMechArena.com.
To, get updates in the meantime.
Yep.
Well, thanks again for joining me. Thank you, everybody here live at PAX East and everybody watching at home. But that is all the time we've got. Have a great day.